Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is David Novak. I'm going to do a little mail haul video tonight and perhaps go off on a tangent. Not that I have anything planned. Recently I spent a couple of days in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and there was a really marvelous bookstore there. I talked about it somewhere. Schuler's, I think, was the name of it. And we spent a little bit of time, and I pulled a bunch of books that really interested me, including these titles, which I've shown you, from Everyman's Library, the Pocket Poets series, Hanshan, which is some Chinese poetry, translated by Peter Harris. That's right. Oh, there's the bookstore, Schuler Books, and this one, Uyghur Poems. I'm not sure how to say it, but this cover is absolutely gorgeous. And I saw them, and I pulled a bunch of books, and ultimately, I decided to go with these because I thought, well, if I order them from an online vendor, they may not be in such beautiful condition as if I buy them new. And even though the price is a little bit astronomical for my usual kind of purchasing proclivities, if I find a bookstore that I like and I really like the bookstore, I always try to give them some business. And so this was an extravagance, a bit of largesse, but I think the bookstore was definitely worthy, and I hope to return there one day. We also did a little traveling around, going to garden shops, I guess you would call them, nurseries, I think. And it would be nice to go back again, perhaps next spring, something like that, just to see what they have on offer. So I've gotten a number of packages. This is one. Look at this. There should be 3. 2 of them I ordered from the same vendor at one time, and I knew they would bind them together, which I like to do because when you get things in this kind of package, having more than one book in the package sometimes can preserve the books from damage and rot, since these cheap vendors do not try at all to preserve the books or keep them sound, and so you get all kinds of weird things. So, but there are 3, because it turns out the day before I had ordered another book from this vendor, and I can't even remember what it was, but they beat me to it, and they combined all 3 into one package. So that was delightful. I usually buy things that are like $4 with free shipping. So. And then I got another package, one of these that comes in one of these big things. And so 2 of these are are books that I saw at that bookstore. And one of these is a book that, and I think actually I might be getting them confused. One of them is a book that popped into my head while I was looking online at one of the other books. So let me open this package first, and we'll see what we have here. Or maybe I should open this one first. I think I'll open this one first. Oh dear. Carl at Please Read Your Book did a video a couple of weeks ago in which he said nobody watches book review videos, and I think there is some truth to that. I don't do book reviews, although sometimes I give impressions of something I have read. But I know that if you do a book haul video or an unhaul video, that kind of thing seems to rack up the views. This is hard opening, this kind of thing, because even though I think I have a pretty good idea of where the book itself is situated in the package, I'm just very afraid of tearing up the book itself. There's a water fountain back there. I don't know if you can hear it, but every so often it makes this grinding noise that's pretty awful, and then it stops. Okay, I can see a little bit of the book, but I'm trying to get to it without hurting anything. Oh, that's not even the book. That's the packing slip. Yeah. Now, the first time I ever cut the cover of a book while opening a package like this, I was devastated. Cut the book cover right in half. So I try to be more careful now. Now, whoops. What have I got here? Is this what I was expecting? Yes, it is. So oh, dear. Now, why is there a little bit of, and why is there this on here too? There's a sticker that's kind of, oh God. I wish they would do better than this, take better care. Oh gosh. There's just a really bad sticker, and the sticker is halfway off the book. I mean, I don't care if there's a sticker on the book, but if you have to put the sticker on the book, somebody called Slingshot, ever heard of them? And it is this marvelous edition of Purgatorio, translated by D.M. Black, which I saw at the bookstore. And after putting the books away, I just kept thinking about it, and I looked it up online. The binding is not really great here. It's been broken. I can look at that. That is not good. But it's still holding together well enough. I'll have to think about this. Yeah, look at that. You can really see it. Well, you might not be able to, but so somebody obviously read this and broke the binding. I may well complain about it, but I may not, because it's a really marvelous edition in that it's a bilingual edition. And we went back to that bookstore, and I read the introduction by D.M. Black. Well, there's a preface also by Robert Pogue Harrison. But Black is I think a psychiatrist, and he did not start translating the comedy or the Divine Comedy from Inferno. This was the first book he translated, and it turns out that his Paradiso, or however you say that, Paradise, is due out, I think this month or next month or August. I guess next month would be August. And I don't think he has done Inferno as yet, but I bet he will at this point. I would like at some point to read the comedy again. For those of you who don't know, the Divine Comedy in its original Italian was just called the Comedy, or La Commedia. And he said he had some interest. Of course, for the poet, this is the indispensable volume out of the three. My professional background is in psychoanalysis, and what drew me initially to translate Purgatorio was a realization that Dante had achieved in his allegory a remarkably psychological way of thinking, a way of conveying conflict and development in the soul with quite extraordinary sensitivity. Freud, in his late 60s, commented wonderingly that the psyche harbors residues of the existences of countless egos. He suggested that character is a precipitate of abandoned object cathexis, lost relationships, and may contain the history of those relationships. And much of psychoanalysis has been devoted to understanding this fact and how these countless egos interact with one another. The intellectual language in which psychoanalysis is done has not always been helpful in doing this. Dante's allegorical language, however, goes directly toward it. Of course, very differently from psychoanalysis, Dante's ultimate concern is with Christian salvation, not with understanding what impedes someone from living a fulfilling life. And yet, I wouldn't be too sure of that. And yet, the contrast between those two goals may turn out to be not quite as sharp as it seems at first sight. I decided to make the translation, therefore, as a way of getting as close as I could to the actual texture and movement of Dante's thought, to his meaning, essentially, though hopefully not entirely neglecting the pleasing ordering of words. And it seems to be very nicely done. It disturbs me that the binding is broken, though. There was no indication of that in the order. For my purposes, it was not an expensive copy, so I may well just let it go at that. It obviously has been read, and the broken spine will not prevent me from getting through a single read of this if I so choose. Now, New York Review of Books, the publisher, has an edition of the Inferno translated by somebody else, and I've never seen it. But looking for it online, the available prices were just out of my range at this time. So I may well wait for Mr. Black to translate the Inferno after his Paradiso, I don't know, has had its time under the sun. So now this one, and this is the package with 3 books, one of which is a book which I looked at that bookstore, and one of which is a book which I came upon while I was looking for this book. While I was searching the online vendors for this, I came across this other book, and I thought, well, why not? And it was cheap, as I say. Oh, okay, here's what we got. Now this, Philip at A Poet Reads to Write has just been reading this. I found this in the store, a new translation of Aristophanes' 4 plays. And I looked at it at the store, and it looked really good. I've read the plays of Aristophanes. I myself took a turn early in life and became a writer of comic plays, very much inspired by the type of comedy one finds in Aristophanes, or one found in the Attic, I guess you could say. This new Aristophanes is zany, sharp, inventive, vivacious, and surprisingly relevant for our times, so says Emily Wilson, translator of Homer's Odyssey and Iliad, I think. And this is just a perfect, lovely copy. So Philip says that the introduction by it begins with a C. I just can't. Is very good. Oh, maybe mine doesn't have that introduction. Oh, I don't think so. I think mine only has an introduction by Aaron Poochigian. I'm not sure of that. At any rate, my previous familiarity with Aristophanes largely derives from this translation. It was an anonymous translation done, I think, around 1912 or something like that, possibly before. Let's see. Yeah, 1912. This beautiful translation was originally published by the Athenian Society, London, 1912, for subscribers only. The name of the translator was not stated, or he should have been given just acknowledgement here for his excellent scholarship. The present text is based on that edition. So there's the note. And it's really a marvelous translation, and I've never seen such a good translation by anybody else. They all fall flat. Now, I once found another copy, and it was in better shape, but the spine was broken, and then I bought it and gave it to a friend, and then when she died, I came across it amongst her books, which she had asked me to dispose of, and I thought about keeping it, but I decided to keep my own original edition, which is not in as good condition as that, but also does not have the broken spine. But I can see here that the spine is starting to give way a little bit. Look at that. So, be that as it may, it will suffice. The book that I just came across while I was looking for the black translation of Dante is Erich Auerbach, and I've heard of this book. It's possible it's something that I've read. It was available fairly cheaply, and something about it, man, how can you even read something like that? Oh my God, it's like pink type on black in man. Erich Auerbach's Dante, Poet of the Secular World, is an inspiring introduction to one of world's greatest poets. Shouldn't it be one of the world's greatest poets? As well as a brilliantly argued and still provocative essay in the history of ideas. No shade, please. As a person who has tried to put out books, I understand all too well how these errors slip in. Here, Auerbach, thought by many to be the greatest of 20th century scholar critics, makes the seemingly paradoxical claim that it is in the poetry of Dante, supreme among religious poets, and above all in the stanzas of his Divine Comedy, that the secular world of the modern novel first took imaginative form. Auerbach's study of Dante, a precursor and necessary complement to mimesis, his magisterial overview of realism in Western literature, illuminates both the overall structure and the individual detail of Dante's work, showing it to be an extraordinary synthesis of the sensuous and the conceptual, the particular and the universal, that redefined notions of human character and fate and opened the way into modernity. So it looks really good. Let's see, and it does not have a broken spine. A little bit of notes having been taken, but no big deal. And probably, as with most books, you're going to find underlinings in the first couple of pages and then nothing. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty typical as well. Although a dog ear on page 48 suggests that somebody has read it. So my reading lately has not been very good. I am not every day, but almost every day as I can, I'm reading Francis Parkman and struggling to get through it. But my attention is very scattered these days because I'm tending to pay attention to current events, to the political scene in my country, the United States of America. But traditionally, I have not been a strong reader, but I have been okay with being able to poke into books and get something out of them regardless. So this one, I've been talking a lot about, or thinking a lot about Lysistrata recently. I think I mentioned Lysistrata in a recent video. And so this will be a good opportunity for me to reread that most famous of plays by Aristophanes. And I may not look at the others, Clouds, Birds, Women of the Assembly, as yet. Although I may. These Aristophanic plays are short and real easy to just breeze through. So I may well. A play like The Clouds, I probably have practically memorized. It's such an easy piece. And so I probably don't need much time to just buzz through it and see how this new translation sets with me. I haven't read Aristophanes in a long time. And then this just comes from a different conversation on YouTube. Actually, I've been following a young YouTuber who has been talking about the legacy of colonialism, and something that he said led me to an article, I think, or an interview with the author whose book he was talking about. Can't remember the name right now. If I think of it, I'll put the interview into the comment, or no, into the description as a link. And something that he said made me think about Richard Wright. And I've often wondered why when you have sort of a missing spot in your knowledge, sometimes there is a reason from the societal inputs which you have had. It may be an unconscious or even conscious bias which you hold, which leads you to go in one direction and leads you to turn away from another direction. And we are all very comfortable with Richard Wright's Native Son. I mean, that's a Chicago classic. I had it in school, and I think everybody probably has it in school or has read it in my country. And along with that, his memoir, Black Boy, and then I think a book of his short stories. But I've never, even though I've been curious, I've never gone so far as to read his later novels or to read any of his later prose pieces. And I believe that these are all prose pieces by Richard Wright. So 3 books from exile: Black Power, The Color Curtain, and White Man Listen. And I think just given how things are going these days in the United States, it's probably a good time to be looking at this stuff. Yeah, I think the Color Curtain, he wrote a piece about the Bandung Conference, which was a pivotal event which I have hardly given any thought to until hearing this YouTuber talk about this other book, and I think about it, or the interviewee, meaning the author in this interview, talked about it quite a bit. And so I just feel it's time for me to bone up on this. So these are my new books. Of these, the one that I am most pleased with is the Aristophanes, just because it's in beautiful shape, and I love Aristophanes. The Richard Wright looks very good, but I cannot pass any judgment as yet. We shall see if I even get to it. And then the Erich Auerbach, well, we'll see how it goes. I will poke into that and see what I can glean without committing to a full-scale read of the book. And then the Dante itself, it appears at face value to be a lovely translation, and it does have the Italian text on the facing page. So that is definitely a win, with points deducted for the book having a broken spine. But even though it has a broken spine, it is still readable. So we shall see what I do. I may look around for a better copy, but I don't know what I will do. So this is where things stand with me. The tea today was unsweetened, roasted green tea. I think there was some kind of a sale on these when we were at the store, and there is a brand, as far as hot tea from tea bags, there is a brand whose roasted green tea I just absolutely love, and you can't get it. And this is pretty good. Itoen is always good. So I will leave off there. This is almost a half hour of me talking about nothing, but I appreciate you stopping by. And in these times of fascism, I invite you to resist in small ways, to not comply in small ways as you can, or to what they call maliciously comply as you can. And I would also urge people to join up with other people who are interested in seeing what can be done to stem the tide of the fascist rise as it is manifesting itself in horrendous acts towards immigrants in this country. Thank you for stopping by my